Richard, tell us more about what's been revealed with this Finding Freedom news and why it is particularly significant.
Well, we've had sort of drip, drip, drip from this book so far, but this is all about the new epilogue for the new paperback edition. And we've seen it all now, and it's there are some interesting revelations in there. And the main one is to do with the Oprah Winfrey interview and how Harry and Meghan considered naming the royal in question, the senior royal, they've said, who had made these racist comments allegedly about their unborn baby. And obviously they didn't name them in the interview, but they, according to this book, they did consider doing that. And there's been a string of other claims in this epilogue as well, such as members of the royal family were pleased that Meghan didn't attend Prince Philip's funeral. They thought it would be all about her.
Well, it would have been, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's not...
What a revelation.
Yeah.
To be fair, you could say that's sort of stating the obvious, really. But it's what's really significant, I think, is the claim about naming, the racist royal.
And what's the source of that claim?
It's
Do we know?
all, I mean, as Harry and Meghan have been keen to point out, they are relying on, unnamed sources. But it does make sense because we know that it seemed very calculated at the time. When they gave this interview, they clearly wanted to drop it in there, and Oprah was shocked at the time. And to me, it just seems it was so calculated to damage. They clearly thought, how can we damage the royal family?
Well, see, I think not naming was the more calculated move, because now it just sits there in eternity and we'll never know who they're actually talking about.
Because now everyone speculates, they basically mention any member of the royal family. If people go, is it Camilla, is it William, is it... And if they just actually named one individual, it would have counted all the others out, at least, I suppose. And there are all these conspiracy theories, and people still, even last night at dinner, people were like, so who do you think it is? People are still talking about it.
Well, to make it even worse, I remember Gayle King said afterwards that Harry and Meghan had let it be known that it wasn't, because people thought, oh, it could have been a sort of off-colour comment from Prince Philip, but they made clear it wasn't the Queen or Prince Philip, because they've always been keen to, keep good relations with the Queen. And what's particularly significant is in this book, they're saying that if they had named the royal in question, it could have brought down the monarchy. So then you're thinking, wow, that's pretty strong stuff.
Now, I think by doing that, they're counting out any minor royals. So they're basically saying it's got to be...
They're very limiting the number.
I feel like there's going to be a day when we know who this is about. But the Sussexes, Charlotte, are saying that they have nothing to do with the book. They haven't contributed. They haven't sort of helped the authors. But this information's only going to just keep fanning these flames, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they are close with Omid Scobie. So he might not have asked them for the information. He actually spoke to friends of the couple. But Omid is well trained by Meghan and Harry, or he's very he's a bit like a lapdog. He's quite obedient towards them. So, whether they prompted him to do this or not, it has been helpful for their cause, I would have thought. And it's exactly on message.
I don't know. I wonder if a lot of people are finding it a bit tedious, to be honest.
I think there must be a lot of people who, like me, who frankly think it's disgusting. I mean, it comes across as blackmail. Let's not be too careful about our words here. I mean, having that out there in the Oprah interview and leaving it hanging is sort of, you do anything to cross us in the future and we can release this information.
It's a nuclear button. They're just ready to push it. We can bring down the royal family.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's just really sticks in my craw.
And you know they will push it one day. We'll know.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Wow. So moving aside from the family itself, apparently some people feel that palace courtiers will be a little bit upset with some of the new revelations in this updated book. Any thoughts?
I think it's certainly an interesting point that they make in the book that Harry and Meghan allegedly were disappointed by the reaction to the racism allegations, just in the sense of, with the bullying, we haven't heard the outcome of that investigation at all.
Is it still ongoing, or...?
We think it is, as far as we know, but there's been no updates whatsoever. So that has been left hanging in the air.
And Meghan complains in the book... Oh, sorry, the book complains. I might start that again.
Yes, Meghan did not contribute to the book.
In the book, they do mention, Omid does mention that the revelation about bullying came out, a day before Oprah, and that this really upset Meghan, according to Omid, because the other allegations weren't taken as seriously.
Well, finding freedom, hey? We'll be exploring that for many weeks to come, I'm sure. But sticking with this subject for a moment, and it was reported this week that the Queen has ordered aides to speak to libel lawyers as she braces the family against attacks from the Sussexes and the updated Finding Freedom book. Mark Stevens is a lawyer who specialises in media and defamation law, and he gave us his thoughts on these developments.
The Queen's lawyer in media matters is Gerard Tyrrell of Harbottle and Lewis, and invariably they also go to a very eminent QC called Hugh Tomlinson. And as a consequence of that, they will be getting robust and extremely reliable advice. The Sussexes are currently using a law firm called Schillings, and they're using a variety of barristers relating to the different matters and different counsel. The difference is that in this kind of case, they're both kind of playing poacher turned gamekeeper. So the Queen's lawyers are usually looking after her reputation and defending it, and Schillings are usually bringing actions on behalf of rich people and celebrities. In this particular case, they'll have to be defending against the Queen, and that's quite a difficult job. And I think one of the challenges for the Sussexes here is that they are effectively being advised by Sunshine PR in Los Angeles and Los Angeles lawyers. And there's quite a lot lost in translation between the sort of cultural differences between LA and London. And I think the lawyers for the Queen are much more attuned to those cultural differences, and that will play to the Queen's benefit. We've seen the Sussexes go through, particularly Meghan, go through a very unfortunate series of losses before she finally won. And of course, that did them no good at all. The Queen will only take cases which are pretty much a surefire bet. She will have been advised that she is on a winning wicket. We will see the insides of this case. So if you like, we'll see how the legal sausage is made as we have these interim hearings. And we'll also be able to see the way in which the wind of proceedings is going in relation to those cases, because you'll have the ability to see the skeleton arguments, the legal arguments on behalf of both parties. And of course, commentators and lawyers will be able to give a pretty good indication of who's going to be the likely outcome and the likely winner. Of course, the unseemlier side of these cases is very much that someone like Meghan and Harry will likely have to give evidence, and so will people on behalf of the Queen. I think it would be unlikely if the proceedings were issued in the Queen's own name, because obviously we do not want to see the Queen giving evidence. But I could see a very real possibility that the Prince of Wales would give evidence in an appropriate case, and of course William.
So Charlotte, now obviously the royal family's mantra has famously always been never complain, never explain, but it feels like perhaps that's really being pushed to its limits these days.
Yeah, it must be, because she's having to ask all these lawyers to help her out and prepare and brace themselves. So perhaps there will be another statement coming from her. It will be unbelievably carefully worded, but she has been pushed to the point where she cannot stick by that old mantra because these claims are just coming at her.
Richard, do you think that this will sort of ruffle Harry and Meghan into, but they just seem to double down all the time, don't they?
It really is such a sort of clash of worlds, as Mark Stevens sort of alluded to. I mean, Schillings, you know, they're not just a law firm, they style themselves as reputation managers. You know, they're sort of extended PRs, really. And then the Queen is someone who's only ever used lawyers, if she has to bring specific legal action. So, yeah, I mean, it's a sign of her despair, but whether we will see any legal action, I'm not sure.
Well, can you actually imagine a scenario where they're pitted against each other legally in that way? Is there any precedent for that?
I don't think there has been.
I can't see it. I mean, my goodness. I mean, remember when Paul Burrell was going to go to trial and there were threats that he was going to be making all sorts of revelations, that trial suddenly collapsed.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously next year we have the Platinum Jubilee. Is this move now, this reported move, something to do with protecting those celebrations?
Yeah, I think so. It's so important. She's the first monarch ever to have made it to 70 years. You know, she's 95, and they have to just be in a good place for this Jubilee celebration next year. And she's very wise to be planning in advance and being strategic about this, and just making sure the palace, you know, and the royals are looking clean as a whistle and ready to be on parade.
And I do think all the stories about you know, Harry and Meghan not being invited to events for the Platinum Jubilee and that sort of thing, they will turn out not to be the case, that the palace will make an extra effort to try to include them because they want to keep them on board. I mean, I know they're being almost threatened by this sort of racism stuff, but they have to show that they're above that, I think.
I mean, you know, these royal biographies and memoirs come and go, the newspaper stories and what have you, but it does feel like for some reason Finding Freedom is the one that has really sort of rattled the royal family, and they're taking it really seriously.
I think it is, but I think Harry and Meghan have got worried because they were so closely associated with Omid Scobie and Caroline Durand that they knew they had to put water between themselves and the authors, and they've done that with various legal warnings. So I think they want to say to the royal family, look, this is not us, this is some authors writing, they might be wrong, that type of thing. They do want to put that distance.
But it's sort of their fault, you know. If Omid's dredging up all this stuff from the Oprah interview, well, they gave the Oprah interview.
Yeah.
But also it
so
feels
they are
like
fueling the fire still.
They're talking to people who do seem to think they know the story. So they're talking to friends at the very least.
Yeah.
And
Is that
remember,
right?
we have a big one to come. We have Prince Harry's book itself.
I
So
know, yeah, that's a good point.
we're going to hear his version of all these events.
That is all we have time for on our YouTube show this week. To see the rest of the programme and much more royal news, views and videos, head over to Mail Plus by clicking the link on your screen now. See you there.